Hi there guys, Colin here, and I thought I would put you out of your misery on the recent amp blindfold test and tell you which amp was the valve and which one was the solid state. Now before we get into the answers, I'm going to say that when I was playing these in the room I thought I'd got them sounding pretty similar, but when I recorded them down and listened to the recordings back to back I realised, ooh, this is really obvious. It's obvious which one's the valve and which one's the solid state. This is going to be far too easy and everyone's going to get it right. So I was quite surprised when you proved me wrong and about half of you got it completely wrong. But that's probably quite a good thing. We are bombarded constantly with the idea that valve amps sound better, and while there's a lot of scientific and objective reasons why valve amps do sound more pleasing than solid state amps, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone prefers the sound of a valve amp to a solid state amp. But it does mean if we can't really tell which one is which in a sound test, we'll just often choose the one we like the best and call it the valve, because in our minds, valve has to be the best, so the better sounding one has to be the valve. And that's not the case, and you've proved that. So to reveal the answers, amp number 1 was the Bagheera valve amp. Now I thought the sound of this was pretty obviously valve. It had a much warmer response, fuller frequency of distortions, and not quite as harsh or thin as amp number 2. Amp number 2, of course, being the Marshall Microstack, the solid state amp. Now it came out a lot thinner and harsher on the recording, which I thought again would be fairly obvious that it was the transistor based amplifier, but I think what that translated to a lot of people was it was somehow clearer in the mix for them. They could hear it very precisely, whereas the warmer, fuller tone of the valve maybe sounded a bit muddy or not quite the clarity of the transistor amp. So that may have got people confused about what one sounded better and which one didn't. I heard a few comments along those lines. So once again this proves go for the sound you like, not for the sound you're told is better. If you like the sound of the solid state amp, then don't let anyone tell you that it's not as good an amp as getting a valve amp. Go for that sound. Personally, I don't think you can top the sound of a good valve amp. Not that I'm suggesting that the Bagheera is a good valve amplifier. It isn't, it's a cheap one, but it does have the valve characteristics. Recently I had the chance of playing quite an expensive valve Marshall head, and the difference is incredible. So if you can spend the money on a really good valve amp, then you will get a better sound. But again, very subjective. If you like the sound of a solid state, go for it. So maybe the answers to this have surprised you, maybe it hasn't. Maybe you're Marcus Pinter and you're very glad you don't have to jump off a building right now. But yeah, I'll maybe do some more of these blindfold sort of things in the future. It's just a good bit of fun, I think, rather than try to prove anyone wrong. Just a good bit of fun to see if we can guess what gear is what. Anyway, that's enough for this one. Keep it loud, and I'll see you later, guys.